One thing I've always been fascinated by is when our main man Mario transcends his own franchise and begins to show up in absolutely random places, some of which are very unexpected and lead to some truly amazing moments. Today in particular, I want to focus solely on Mario's cameos in other Nintendo games, specifically looking at times when he himself shows up, or there's a discernible image of him somewhere placed within there as an Easter egg. Before we get started on this fun journey, my name is Copycat, and if you haven't yet, then please subscribe to my channel, hitting that bell to stay notified when I upload new videos. The first we're going to look at here are all from Nintendo's original console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, having Mario show up in many of the entries as they really wanted to make him the flagship character. An early example of this would be in the Tennis 1985 title as the umpire that's making the calls during your match, which is a very strange sight to see as he isn't wearing his classic blue and red, and instead is wearing white and black. Now you still can't tell that it is him due to his iconic face features, plus the fact the game's produced by Shigeru Miyamoto, which really ensures it's supposed to be this iconic character. At that time, he wasn't as big of an icon as he is nowadays, so a lot of fans might have overlooked this if they've only played the original arcade title and wasn't used to his updated look. One wild appearance that he would make is in the 1987 release, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, where here he performs the duties as the referee of the boxing matches, at least sporting his red hat so you can tell that it's him. It's crazy to see this disproportioned Mario in scenarios like this. And also, I think this might be one of the only instances where a celebrity has interacted with our mustachioed hero, as Nintendo is usually way more protective of their IP. Maybe honestly due to the fallout from this specific one, just look up what Mike Tyson's done and you'll know what I mean. In a title literally just called Golf, Mario is featured as the golfer in the tournament that you're in. You can actually tell that it's him in this instance due to the iconic mustache and nose, but he is a bit taller and more athletic looking than usual, which is kind of weird. Also, if it isn't evident enough, you can at least tell by the cover art, which I really do enjoy. Another game that features him in the cover art, although he isn't the main character of the game, is Pinball, released in 1985, where instead here he can just be found within a bonus level. What you need to do is control Mario while he's holding up a platform so the pinball will bonk off it, collecting as many points as you can, depending on what numbers the ball goes over, trying to get as high of a score as possible. Oh yeah, and Princess Toadstool also appears, here still sporting her brown hair, as for some reason that's what it was in earlier entries and they later changed it. One unexpected appearance of Mushroom Kingdom characters can be seen in Tetris that was released in 1989. Being a puzzle game that has Russian roots, so that's where most of the settings of this one take place. However, in one surprising twist, the best possible ending of the A-type game has a UFO appear and blast a cathedral into space, where then, getting a very high score in the B-type will produce this wonderful scene. Finally, I just want to mention a few games where Mario actually is the main character, but for some reason his name isn't included in the title, starting with Wrecking Crew. Now this is sort of a remake / port from an earlier arcade entry where Mario wasn't well established at that time. So here for the console version, they really made a few changes to up the character's features. Next is the odd puzzle game titled Yoshi that came out in 1992, where Mario is seen switching around the stack of enemies to complete pairs. This was an obvious Tetris homage, although many people felt like it was just a worser version, and would eventually cause Nintendo to rethink the concept and come out with the amazingly fun Yoshi's Cookie. This is essentially the same game, just way better, where here Mario just has to control stacks of cookies to create lines that get cleared so that you can win. The next real system Nintendo would create is the portable Game Boy that would become available in 1989, having several titles that have Mario cameos where they wouldn't exactly be expected, starting with Alleyway. This is that classic brick breaker premise where you control a platform and have to bonk a ball back upwards to the bricks to clear them. As you can see, your lives counter is literally a picture of Mario, as well as the cover art actually displaying him controlling the platform, meaning it's actually a gigantic vehicle, which for some reason is just a funny thought. In this system's version of baseball that would come out as a launch title, Mario and Luigi would be added as the opposing team's starting pitchers. And even though they don't have any resemblance to the bros, Mario is for some reason included on the box art. There are other names on the teams, but they aren't exactly recognizable Nintendo ones, maybe being names of the developers and their family members, but who knows. Also, I guess notable that the Japanese version doesn't feature Mario in it, meaning it was purely up to Nintendo of America to include him in the Western title, which is interesting. Up next is the 1991 F1 race title, as Mario and his friends show up during the celebrations, not really being involved in any other aspect of the gameplay at all. You can also see that some of the women are dressed somewhat suggestively next to them, which is another thing we would never see ever again with Nintendo. I mean, kind of. Now, the next one that I had never heard of before, and contains probably the most out-of-hand cameos we'll see in this video, is in a game called Quicks. These unhinged moments appear depending on how high your score is, and include Mario dressing up in a poncho and sombrero, singing songs on his guitar in a desert to a vulture, Mario as an African warrior going to hunt something, Mario as a matador, about to be pummeled by a bull, Mario dressed in a turban, sitting in front of what appears to be the Taj Mahal, trying to seduce a cobra, so stereotypical, Mario in what appears to be ancient China, balancing plates as I guess some sort of jester or street performer, Mario in London as a royal guard next to other royal guard Marios, and finally just an image of our heroes in what seems to be a parody of the end of the original Star Wars. Again, I'm super surprised how loose Nintendo was with their IP at that time, although I do wonder if some of these publishers and developers just sort of snuck these in and didn't tell them and they just sort of fell through the cracks. In this version of Tetris, there's a 2-player mode that can be accomplished via link cable, where you can see here that the display pictures of player 1 and player 2 are that of Mario and Luigi. Nothing too crazy here, as that is really just the extent of the appearance, which really didn't have to happen, although it did, and I'm not really complaining about it, but you know what I mean. Finally, I want to mention what are probably my favorite cameos of this video, found within The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. That's been released in multiple versions in different places over the years. Here you begin the game by meeting a character named Tarin, who is definitely supposed to be Mario. Not only due to his appearance, but also at one point he's magically transformed into a raccoon, which, you know, is just fitting. His brother Luigi also shows up, here as the henhouse keeper of Tall Heights. Usually seen just relaxing and feeding his chickens, or cuckoos, or whatever they're called. Lastly, Peach also shows up through a postcard sent to Mr. Right, who is supposedly her pen pal / secret admirer, as the woman's name in the picture is Christine and not Princess Peach. There are a few other Mario Easter eggs splattered throughout this mysterious island, so if I missed one of your favorites, then let me know in the comments below. The next major home console that we put out by the company is the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1991, having a bunch of games where our Jolly Plumber shows up, starting with Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. This is all during Cranky Kong's Video Game Heroes area, where you can see Mario alongside his dino buddy Yoshi, and randomly Link from Zelda. Here you can take the top spot if you get over 39 DK coins, which is really just a completion thing as you aren't really given anything else from it. Next, I want to look at a few from Kirby Superstar 8 Games in 1 that came out in 1996, beginning with the Megaton Punch minigame, which has some familiar faces in the crowd. This is of Mario, Luigi, Toad, Birdo, and Peach, which are all just used as background images that don't intersect with the challenge whatsoever. So I'm not sure if that's the confirmed existence of a Mario multiverse or just laziness. The next would be during the end credits of the Milky Way Wishes mode, popping up when the title's executive producer, Hiroshi Yamauchi, appears. This is just a 16-bit image and nothing more, so it really is a bit boring in the grand scheme of things. The last Mario thing you can find is through Kirby's Stone Power, as the pink ball-like creature at times can actually turn into a statue of him. This is a really fun nod that doesn't have to happen as there isn't much crossover between these two franchises. That being said, there is also Super Smash Bros., but I'm not counting that, you know what I mean. Strangely, another Mario statue would show up in another game that's not related at all in SimCity SNES. The city building simulator where you literally control your own city as mayor. Once you reach a population of over 500,000 and beat a few of the game's harder scenarios, you'll be able to build this heroic monument anywhere in your city, An homage that's sort of random, but is still a must-have. What's even cooler is the natural disaster that comes in the form of Bowser rampaging through your world, destroying literally everything in his path and setting things on fire. In a racing simulation game called Stunt Race FX, made by the same people who made Star Fox, they included a few signs during the courses that have Mario and Luigi's faces on them. Honestly, these are not really things that you notice on your first play around, especially as some of them are placed off-screen or higher up, which can be easily missed. One unexpected Easter egg of Mario can be found in a title called Super Play Action Football, in the form of the coin that's used to pick who's kicking off and who's receiving. As you can see, the heads is represented by Mario's head, and the tail is the Tanuki tail from Super Mario Bros. 3, making this one of the only times Mario and American football have ever crossed over, ? One great Mario cameo can be found in the Super Scope 6 bundle of game minigame thing during the Laser Blazer Type A minigame, where he can be seen flying throughout the stage. This is either in pursuit or being chased by a Koopaling on a rocket, needing to shoot that baddie for a few extra points as a nice bonus. Finally, the last strange cameo from the system I want to mention is in a Zelda game. Here, in the Link to the Past that came out in 1999, as some of the houses in Kakariko Village have a portrait of Mario. Why they would ever have this, I don't think I'll ever understand, as I can't ever imagine Mario visiting a medieval like Hyrule, as his existence in this realm just wouldn't make any sense. Next up is Nintendo's first console that home games within the 3D realm, in the N64 that came out in September of 1996. Having many instances of Mario cameos that I need to mention, with the first being in Donkey Kong 64. In the Frantic Factory level, you can activate an original Donkey Kong arcade cabinet and play as Mario through all 4 stages of that game, playing through it twice to be rewarded with a Nintendo coin. Another way you can access it is through the mystery menu that becomes unlocked once you capture 6 banana fairies, letting you play the OG game literally just whenever you like. One character from the F-Zero franchise that I'm pretty sure is supposed to be Mario, even though he's a hulking, maniacal-looking person, is Mr. EAD. Here looking this way first, and F-Zero X for the system. Now, EAD stands for Entertainment Analysis and Development, which is a division of Nintendo that creates games. So that's a nod to both that team and our Jumpman, even though it's through this really goofy character. Now, Mr. EAD shows up in pretty much every future F-Zero title after this one, and is probably in them before, but it isn't that apparent that it's Mario, so I'm not going to mention every single one, just know that he does exist within them. In Pilot Wing 64, circa 1996, Mario's face can be seen in a Mount Rushmore-like setting next to the usual US presidents. But the cameo doesn't stop there. If you shoot at Mario, then his head will inexplicably turn into Wario's, which is a crazy Easter egg I'm not sure without a guide many people found. Up next are the 2 Zelda games, starting with the Ocarina of Time in 1998, as Mario and Luigi show up as alternate universe characters in Talon and Ingo of Long Long Ranch. Not only is that the case, but their daughter Malon is wearing a pendant with Bowser's face on it, raising certain questions like who's their mom, and is it supposed to be Peach, or is this someone Peach's daughter, or I'm confused. Also, there's a bunch of portraits of Mushroom Kingdom characters found through a window of Hyrule Castle, including ones of Mario, Peach, Yoshi, Luigi, and Bowser. This means there must have been some crossover at some point for them to know about each other, so I hope one day that gets answered, even if it is a bit crazy. In Majora's Mask, Talon and Ingo return, but here as the capitalistic Gorman brothers. The Bowser pendants here are worn by 2 people in Romani and Crimea, who are either sisters or mother and daughter, but do bear a striking resemblance to Malon. Here they run Romani Ranch, taking over for their deceased father, trying to save the business. Nintendo's next handheld console would be the Game Boy Advance that would come out in North America in June of 2001, where the only game I can mention that has Mario-based cameos is The Legend of Starfy 3, created by Toes in 2002. This Japanese exclusive release, for some unknown reason, features Wario, specifically the version of him from Wario Land 4, appearing through the majority of World 8, needing to use his different abilities to help you complete certain rooms. I'm a bit confused by this crossover, as it isn't even the same company creating both games, so I don't get how this was allowed, and why they just wouldn't go with Mario. That same year in 2001, Nintendo would come out with the GameCube as the gigantic home console system, having many cameos regarding Mario, starting here with a snowboarding title called 1080 Avalanche. At the end of a level called Angel Light Midnight City, you can see that there's a huge statue of Mario in the town square near the finish line. And this appearance is actually warranted, as this title was developed by Nintendo Software Technologies, and was exclusive to the system. There's also a series of unlockable boards that you can acquire, one of them showing Mario in his 8-bit form. And although you can't really see it that well while you're playing, it's still a good thing to get. Next is a game that I'm surprised was exclusive to the GameCube in Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, featuring Mario and Yoshi figurines in the Octagon's office. If you use your gun and shoot Yoshi, he'll make his classic Dino Buddy noise. And if you shoot Mario, then a 1-up noise will sound. Out of everything in this entire video, I'd have to say that being able to play as Mario and the gang in NBA Street Volume 3 is one of my favorite things. This, of course, is only in the GameCube version, as Nintendo had signed a deal with EA Sports for certain crossovers of their games, including the next one we're going to look at in SSX on Tour. This fits perfectly with this entry, as it really doesn't take itself too seriously, so cartoony characters like this actually fit in well. Here you're also allowed to use Mario, Luigi, and Peach, but as snowboarders doing tricks when you descend the mountainside. Again, because it doesn't take itself too seriously, these cameos really actually work. Finally, I want to look at a cameo that's based around Mario's voice and not his actual appearance in Pac-Man Versus. For some reason here he's just the narrator of everything, which is evident via Charles Martinet's pretty iconic voice. Just listen. Pac-Man Versus! Ready? Go! The Nintendo DS is the next system that will be released, here first in North America in 2004, having 3 games where Mario shows up in some form, starting with Ridge Racer DS. This is shown through a few unlockable car designs based off of the main characters, along with, randomly, a Shy Guy car, which I laugh at endlessly every time I see. In Tetris DS, there's entire parts with Mario tie-in themes featuring platforming from Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 3, and Donkey Kong. This is with very updated graphics that you can't really pay attention to due to how fast the Tetris gameplay is. So focusing in and actually seeing this might be the first time some of the players can really enjoy it. Finally is the Japanese-only Taiyo Yakumin Wi-Fi entry, which is just Mahjong, where you can select a Mushroom Kingdom character as your avatar. Really, nothing else. They're not involved in the gameplay. It's literally just your profile picture for when you play online, and that's it. Up next is one of the company's most popular systems of all time, the Wii, which only has a few instances where Mario shows up where he usually wouldn't, starting with the Simpsons game in 2007. Here, during the Enter the Cheatrix missions, you'll see that Mario is actually working with Professor Frink, sort of as his slave, I guess, slash handyman if you want to call it that. Also, at one point Donkey Kong shows up and scoops up the professor and takes him down a green pipe, a la every Mario game ever made ever. Also, before we move on, I should mention Mario's numerous appearances in WarioWare titles, where this system's Smooth Moves entry is no different. Now, these appearances across that entire miniature franchise usually can just be seen through minigames that are an acknowledgement of past entries throughout Nintendo's history, meaning you don't actually ever control the Mustachioed Man, with him only being there to fit the theme and really nothing else. One of my favorite systems in the Nintendo collection is the 3DS that came out in North America in August of 2012, having really only 2 somewhat appearances I want to look at, starting with the Club Nintendo Picross game that would be unlocked if you pay 80 points. Here you just play through classic Picross levels, but in the Mario theme. A game I never really had gotten into, but I will give it a pass as puzzlers can be intriguing. The other that also has somewhat similar looking Mario images, but in a drastically different way, is through Pushmo. As in that game, there are Mario courses that you can play through and try to reach to the top. I actually loved playing through this game back in the day when it came out on the 3DS. As the idea is quite simple, just needing to push blocks in and out so you can find a way to traverse upwards. Up next is the wildly unpopular Wii U that almost nobody had except for me, and led to Nintendo almost disappearing from existence. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit, but you get what I mean. Anyways, one game that actually contained Mario characters that you could play around with is called Scribblenauts. These look a bit more like Paper Mario characters than regular Mario ones, but whatever. And even though I don't know much about this specific title, this still looks like a good bonus to have, and I am glad that they include stuff like this still, sort of to this day. Next, we're going to look at Tekken Tag Team Tournament 2, which is a bit of an unexpected place to see Mario things. Where here, oddly, there's a mode called Mushroom Battle. Not only does this allow you to wear Mario-like costumes, but also use Mario power-ups, like the Super Shroom that increases your size 1 level, a Mega Mushroom that increases you to maximum size, a Poison Mushroom that decreases your size and lowers your stamina, a Golden Mushroom that greatly increases your speed, and lastly, the Star, making you immune for a short period of time, while also becoming unblockable. The last system to be released by Nintendo is the Switch in 2017, really only having a small amount of games that contain Mario, although the most significant has to be Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, I've been holding off in showing Mario Easter eggs in the Animal Crossing games, as they really all come to a pinnacle in this latest entry. Having everything you want from costumes, to themes for your house, to cool items that are pretty usable, one being my favorite in the Warp Pipe, that allows you to travel fast between one and another on your island. Now, you unfortunately can't play old NES games like you could in the original Animal Forest/Animal Crossing entry, something that is sort of a letdown as they were in that old title back 20-30 years ago, but not in this new title from the late 2020s, but sometimes Nintendo is questionable and I'll never understand. Next, I didn't even know there was a Mario theme in Tetris 99, as that game is so incredibly fast-paced that I never even paid attention to what was going on in the background. Also, Mario's just sort of standing there, so it isn't anything that spectacular, but again, I didn't even know that he was there, so I doubt you will either. Finally, I just want to mention the Mario updates for Minecraft of all games, as one DLC pack brings in an entire Mushroom Kingdom theme where you can play as the classic characters and all. If you're a young kid and just like playing creative mode, then this is probably a blast for you. Otherwise, I don't think this does much for the usual hardcore players. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment below what you thought about it, and of course subscribe to my channel. Also, please go follow my Instagram at CopyCatGamer, where there I upload some cool clips and items for a collection that you won't see anywhere else. Hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!